Over the past 10 years, we've seen entirely new industries pretty much open up overnight. People are running their own business driving Uber. People are running their own businesses renting out their homes with Airbnb. And when we see massive industry shifts like this, a ton of new problems and opportunities arise around them. That is a massive opportunity for entrepreneurs like you and me to go in and solve those problems. So, on this episode, I've got a good friend of mine, Jonathan Wicks, who did exactly that. Jonathan's the founder of Well and Good Property Services, and he's built various companies based on decency and humanity. In an industry that's experiencing astronomical growth, but doing so on the backs of frustrated labor and insufficient systems, Wix is helping to shape the long-term viability and impact of the short-term rental industry for years to come. Jonathan Wicks, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I'm excited to talk about your entrepreneurial journey, how you came up with this awesome idea that you have to help Airbnb owners, and also inspire some future entrepreneurs to follow in your footsteps. So thank you for spending some time with me. Welcome to the show.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Great to chat in person about some of these things. Happy to dive in.
Same here, and as in person as it gets, right? And
yes, as in person as it gets.
I know we've been going through all kinds of craziness in the economy over the past couple of years. I've dealt with it. I'm sure you've dealt with it on a whole other level. So we'll jump into that. But first, I'd love to hear a little bit of your backstory. I found that learning about how entrepreneurs kind of became successful, where they came from, and how they did it is really helpful for a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs who might be listening to the show.
Totally. So I'll try to summarize some of the bullet points of growing up. I grew up as a son of a pastor, rural Nebraska, and that shaped a lot of what I would consider some of my service mindset. We were in the ministering to congregations side of things where we just were looking to help. My dad would always say, find someone's biggest need and help them with it, and that was kind of my background in terms of the growing up, and that led me into college, and I went actually within a ministry style of school. So I didn't want to be a pastor, to be honest, and even though that might have been the family's pursuit of what they were looking for on my end, but I found myself looking to want to work in that service space and be able to just find needs and fill them. And started a company when I was 19. I was in school and just really wanted to pay my way through school and wanted to do something on my own, in the sense that I had done some sales jobs and I had loved the idea of that. But I thought let's try to do this. And that led me into starting a cleaning company in college, and then scaling that company through college. We were doing a lot of the overnight janitorial cleaning for restaurants and such. And after graduating from college, I had started a property management company working with banks. We were doing servicing homes across the Chicago area that were in foreclosures, and ended up selling the cleaning company. That was to the CFO of the college. He was using it then I had assembled this team of these like ministry school students that were just out there crushing it on the night times, cleaning these restaurants. And so ended up being just a great business for the CFO of the college to end up running, and went into full-time property management with bank-owned properties. So that industry was another just challenged one. It was this space where the properties that were going into foreclosure, there was a ton of them, and you had 2009, 10, the era had just flooded the market. But somebody had to be taking care of those properties, and in doing so, there was some challenges with that. We brought in just overall transparency to the industry. We tried to help make sure that people were actually doing the things they said they would do by documentation and such. And that was the companies that I've had for the last 10 years. I bought one of my competitors, ran them together. Now getting into 2019, I sold the majority of that company to one of my longtime employees, who now she's running that as the majority owner, and led me into some different investing opportunities and such within some startups. But ultimately came back somewhat to my roots of servicing, because I saw a need in the short-term rental space, and another industry that's booming, but has a lot of growing pains. And so we wanted to bring in some of the values that I had brought throughout the other companies, in terms of the service being first, and the transparency, and some of just the overall decency that is needed in a space that right now there's a lot of the opposite happening because in a new space like this, there's a lot of money being funneled to try to get the money grab that happens. And everything within that has been accelerated in the last year and a half. And so our company is filling the need of the service and being the consistent company that actually makes the kind of the glue of the operations in that sense.
Love that. And just to put this into context for everyone listening, what is kind of the elevator pitch for what Well and Good does, just so we can dissect it a little bit and dive into how we got here?
Totally. So Well and Good Property Services, we like to say that we do everything for the properties within short-term rentals between guest one and guest two. So when guest one checks out, there's a lot of things that need to happen at the property to get it ready. So we supply new linens for the property. We do the actual cleans. We also are supplying all the consumable items. We're doing the repairs and the maintenance to make sure that everything is continually ready for those guests. In the short-term rental space, we do everything but host. So everything that the property needs, we take care of. That allows the host to then focus on the hosting and the guest experience.
Love that. And this kind of really describes the problem solving that has to happen in entrepreneurship. And what I love about your story is that it's a perfect example of connecting the dots. With a lot of the most successful ideas and business people, it's people who cross industries. You were in the cleaning industry for a while. You were in the hospitality and property management space for a while. And you were able to kind of take those things and translate those skills into this emerging economy of Airbnb, which I think is huge and a great lesson for everybody listening. Now, you're solving a major problem. How did you first realize that there was a problem in this space?
Like so many people, that when you figure out the aha moments, there's a little bit of a process, but it started with I was a host. And so I was the person who was actually trying to get the house ready. And I had a lake house up in northern part of Illinois, and it had 10 beds in it. We had put a lot of beds in it because we wanted to be able to sleep a lot of people. They had enough space. But then there was this problem of how do you get the laundry done? You've got one laundry machine and it's got to all happen. And there was all these obstacles, and it caused some just issues on my end. I had also been a guest, and so I had stayed at short-term rentals across the country, and I just found it was so crazy. All the upsides of the short-term rentals were there, but you just lacked the consistency. You didn't know what you were getting in terms of, it was just it's the Wild West. It's like you're hoping maybe it'll have some nice towels, and maybe the place will be cleaned. It doesn't have anything that I could use in terms of toiletries. We don't know, and so I thought that space needed it, and how I came to actually dive into doing this myself. It was really just it was a crazy situation. It involved it was actually the night that Kobe Bryant passed. It was the night after that, and I was thinking about impact and thinking about some of the legacy that he had left was that he had found what is Ikigai, and I don't know if you know the Ikigai, but it's the combination of the things that you love, the things that you are good at, the things that you think the world needs, and the things that you can make money at. And when you do the word scramble, you bring it all together and form the Ikigai. And that really led me to think, wow, I know this space. I think the world needs this space. I'm good at this space. And also this is a space that has a lot of opportunity. This is the move for me. And it was a kind of that aha moment and that was in February of 2020.
And you've just seen crazy growth since then, which is really incredible to watch and hear about. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you did it, especially in an industry that is so dependent on service. And scaling a service-based industry can be tough, right? Because you're relying on so much talent, people that you can really trust,
yes.
And then scaling that from different locations. It's a complicated process. I've never done something quite like it. So I'd love to hear about that experience from you and what it's been like to scale.
Yes. So you were mentioning just the human needs, the human capital that's needed. And that's such a big part of it. It's why a lot of people just, they stay away from the service industry because that has variables that we don't want to get into. No one wants to really deal with the humans. We found that most companies
Jeremy, with me?